Welcome to Weekly News Highlights, where we wrap up your week with a glimpse back into what went on in the past week. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. South Korean leader Yoon Suk Yeol headed to France this week to give a presentation himself on why Busan is the most suitable city to host the 2030 World Expo. He said it's time for South Korea to give back to the world. U.S.China Relations appear to have eased this week, with America's top diplomat visiting Beijing for the first time since 2018. There is a growing anticipation that there could also be a face-to-face sit-down between the two leaders of Washington and Beijing in the coming months. Regions across the world this week struggled with unusually hot weather. What caused the June heat waves and how hot will this summer be? Our weekly focus takes a look. President Yoon Suk Yeol spent much of this week in Paris to tout Busan City as the host of the 2030 World Expo. There, he himself delivered a presentation, which was the country's fourth presentation ahead of the announcement of the winning bid in November. And South Korean stars also joined him to promote the expo bid. Our Oh Soo-young traveled with the president.
Technicolored and multidimensional, South Korea's pitch to host the World Expo 2030 in the southeast coast city of Busan featured President Yoon Suk Yeol and the country's most prominent figures in K-pop in a 30-minute presentation in Paris on Tuesday. Leveraging the country's digital technology and its recent history of modernization, Yoon delivered his speech in person, painting a vision of ideals with Busan as a platform of hope for progress and prosperity in a time of complex and urgent challenges.
70 years ago, once turned Korea to ruin. But thanks to the help of the international community, Korea transformed itself into an economic powerhouse full of high-tech industry and innovative technologies. Korea wishes to give back to the international community what it has received thus far.
Yoon in particular drew attention to climate change and gaps in access to food, healthcare and digital infrastructure, which worsen global inequality. He pledged to provide Korea's largest ever assistance package for more than 110 member states participating in the expo, highlighting the Busan Initiative, which is aimed at providing customized solutions for developing countries. K-pop legend Psy, who rose to global fame with Gangnam Style and famously sparked a 20,000-strong flash mob in Paris 11 years ago, was also part of a star-studded appeal.
Out of the norm and entirely unconventional, both musically and physically, my debut came as a shock to many. Despite the challenges that I've been through, I never gave up, just like Korea never did 70 years ago. With that Korean spirit, I had the willpower and the unwavering drive to create without conforming.
The Busan Expo's chief architect envisioned a space inspired by the Korean tradition of harmonizing nature, humanity and technology, infused with sustainable materials and 100% green energy.
Additionally, we are thrilled to present the world's first UN habitat floating city. This groundbreaking edition presents yet another innovative solution.
Up against Italy's Rome and Saudi Arabia's Riyadh, the fourth presentation is considered the most critical pitch for the Busan Expo team before the member states go to the ballot in November.
South Korea's pulled out all the stops with the president's pitch and the power of K-pop augmented by digital tech. But will this be enough to win the World Expo bid? The leaders of Samsung, SK, Lotte and Hyundai will also join forces here in the French capital at a reception event on Wednesday. Oh Soo-young, 아리랑뉴스, Paris.
While in Paris, the South Korean leader took time to sit down with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron. Deeper cooperation on North Korean threats and the war in Ukraine topped their summit talks. Kim Do-yeon has the details.
Well, President Yoon Suk Yeol may be in Paris to promote Busan's bid for the 2030 World Expo. Top of his agenda when meeting his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron was security and economic cooperation. Before his VIE presentation on Tuesday local time, Yoon and Macron kicked off the summit by addressing the media on their plans.
북한의 핵 위협은 한반도와 동북아를 넘어 전 세계의 평화에 대한 중대한 도전입니다. 안보리 결의를 위반한 북한의 불법적 도발에 대해 대한민국은 차기 안보리 비상임 이사국으로서 상임 이사국인 프랑스와 긴밀히 협력해서 대처해 나갈 것입니다.
France will support South Korea in order to resolutely respond to North Korean nuclear threats based on a common commitment under international law to achieve complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization. We will continue to firmly condemn the obvious violation of human rights.
Yoon also touted France's efforts to restore peace in Ukraine and vowed to actively work with the international community to bring peace to the country and help with its restoration. The leaders also exchanged ideas on economic cooperation, especially on advanced technology during the summit, saying there are areas where the two countries have strengths but have yet to work together on.
We will cooperate so that South Korea's new space agency can work with France's National Space Centre, which is the third or fourth best in the world. This includes space exploration and satellite use. Also, as France has 56 nuclear power plants in operation, we will expand cooperation in small modular reactors, next-generation nuclear power, regulations, and decommissioning plants.
According to an official at the top office, Yoon also spoke to Macron about mitigating the effects of EU's trade laws on South Korean companies. They also discussed cooperation in diversifying the supply chain and moving away from dependence on one country for certain imports. In the meantime, President Yoon also met with young entrepreneurs from South Korea and France at Station F, known as the world's biggest startup campus, and discussed using innovation as a force for overcoming challenges and crises facing the world. Yoon said endless innovation based on freedom and solidarity is needed to overcome such challenges. And saying the future generation needs to arm themselves with innovative minds rooted in liberalism and internationalism, Yoon vowed support from the South Korean government, no matter where they're from. Kim Doyan, 아리랑뉴스.
The South Korean leader then headed to Vietnam for his first official state visit to a Southeast Asian country, where he sat down with Vietnamese counterparts for summit talks. Our Oh Soo-young tells us more.
South Korea and Vietnam have penned over a dozen deals to initiate their strategic partnership to overcome regional geopolitical and trade uncertainties. During his 3-day state visit to Hanoi, President Yoon Suk Yeol on Friday held a summit with his Vietnamese counterpart Vo Van Thuong, signing a joint action plan.
오늘 양국은 포괄적 전략 동반자 관계 이행을 위한 행동 계획을 채택하고 한 베트남 관계를 더욱 내실 있게 발전시켜 나아가기로 했습니다.
Vietnam prioritizes South Korea in economic and social development projects and foreign policy and wishes to develop a comprehensive strategic partnership practically and effectively in the long run.
Seoul and Hanoi first agreed to establish an annual dialogue channel between their foreign ministers and strengthen Vietnam's maritime security capabilities through naval and coast guard cooperation, as well as the transfer of retired Korean vessels. Their new security deals were reached amid growing geopolitical tension and territorial claims in the South China Sea. A presidential official stressed that the amount of retired vessels transferred to Vietnam would not be at a level that would raise eyebrows in Beijing. Both Seoul and Hanoi wish to have an orderly state of relations in the Indo-Pacific for regional peace and global trade. On economic relations, the leaders agreed to establish a working group with a goal of reaching $150 billion in trade volume by 2030. To foster greater trade ties, the two sides penned MOUs, including the recognition of driver's licenses, certificates of origin, and labour-related rules, and greater support for startups. To collaborate in crucial future industries, the two sides will establish a mineral supply chain centre and cooperate in energy and infrastructure spanning LNG power generation and smart cities. Seoul will also increase its economic cooperation funding for Vietnam from the current $2 billion to $4 billion by 2030. It will also expand grants for development projects in crucial areas like transport, health, climate change and digital transformation, as well as joint science and tech cooperation. in light of South Korea's efforts to become a global pivotal state as a more active stakeholder in the global community, the 11-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations is also a crucial partner in securing sea lines for trade and regional stability, including handling a nuclear North Korea. Twang on Friday said Vietnam is ready to contribute to denuclearizing the Korean peninsula. A senior Yoon official told reporters Seoul takes this to mean Hanoi supports denuclearizing North Korea and will closely cooperate with Seoul on Pyongyang's provocations and Korean peninsula security issues.
Going forward, Yoon said he hopes Seoul-Hanoi ties will expand as a gateway to establish a comprehensive strategic partnership with the ASEAN as a whole, marking 35 years of their dialogue partnership in 2024. Oh Soo-young, Arirang, Hanoi.
And expanding economic cooperation also topped Yoon's state visit to Vietnam. This time, the largest ever business delegation to travel with the president tagged along.
A record 111 memorandums of understanding were penned at the KoreaVietnam Business Forum held Friday local time on the occasion of South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol's visit to Vietnam, signaling closer economic cooperation between the two countries.
서울과 하노이의 물리적 거리는 3,000km가 넘지만 양국은 무역 투자는 물론 인적 교류와 문화에 이르기까지 거의 모든 분야에서 핵심 파트너가 되었습니다.
South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol and Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh were present at the forum, as well as 600 delegates, including government officials. The forum proved to be a hotspot of collaboration, with 54 MOUs signed in sectors such as defense, healthcare, and food, while 28 additional MOUs were signed for technologically advanced industries like electric vehicles. When including infrastructure and key minerals, the total came to an unprecedented 111. In the spirit of camaraderie, President Yoon cited a Vietnamese proverb.
베트남 속담에 메콩강이 천년을 변함없이 흐르는 것처럼 친구의 가치는 영원히 사라지지 않을 것이라는 말이 있습니다. 오늘 포럼을 계기로 양국의 우정이 영원히 지속되기를 바랍니다.
The two countries in their previous summit had promised to scale up bilateral trade to $150 billion by 2030. Reiterating this commitment on Friday, President Yoon voiced his anticipation for closer collaboration moving forward. Kim Hyun-sung, 아리랑뉴스.
U.S.China relations have long been rocky, especially after the suspected Chinese spy balloon incident earlier this year. That meant U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had to cancel a scheduled visit to Beijing. But America's top diplomat eventually visited China in the hope of normalizing talks with the country. Now, no major breakthrough came from the 8-hour-long dialogue, but the two did agree to continue their talks next time in Washington. Let's turn to our Choi Min-jung for more.
Washington and Beijing have both agreed on the need to stabilize their relationship. At a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Monday, Chinese President Xi Jinping underlined the importance of progress being made through the secretary's visit.
Face-to-face interaction should always be based on mutual respect and sincerity. I hope that through this visit, Mr. Secretary, you will make more positive contributions to stabilizing China-US relations.
Speaking at a press briefing after his meeting with Xi, Blinken said senior-level talks between the two sides must continue.
In every meeting, I stress that direct engagement and sustained communication at senior levels is the best way to responsibly manage our differences and ensure that competition does not veer into conflict. And I heard the same from my Chinese counterparts.
The secretary also called on Beijing to use its influence to press Pyongyang to put a stop to further provocations in the region. He insisted that China is in a unique position to encourage North Korea to act responsibly. However, it remains to be seen whether the two sides can resolve long-standing issues involving Taiwan, trade, and human rights. Despite the challenge, Blinken stressed that it is the responsibility of both countries to find a path forward, and it is in the interest of the world that they do so. The White House said Blinken had candid, substantive, and constructive conversations with the Chinese leader and called the talks a good step forward.
And what we want is competition, not conflict. We've been very clear about that. But again, I think it is a good step forward. We believe it's a good step forward for Secretary to have a constructive conversation with President Xi.
Although no major breakthrough was made, pundits hope that Blinken's visit could pave the way for more bilateral meetings, perhaps even a summit in the future between Biden and Xi. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
As our Choi Min-jung just reported, no fruitful or tangible outcome came out of the talks. But Blinken also met with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in what was seen by Beijing as an effort to mend frosty ties. In fact, Blinken hinted as such and said the two leaders of Washington and Beijing will sit down face-to-face within the next few months. Pundits also say the much-anticipated meetup could take place at the 2023 G20 New Delhi Summit in September or at the APEC Summit in San Francisco. But it looks like there'll be a rocky road ahead with U.S. President Joe Biden calling his Chinese counterparts a dictator. Just a day after Blinken's Beijing visit, Biden suggested that she was upset over the Chinese spy balloon being shot down by the U.S. in February, adding that this would be a great embarrassment for dictators. China has protested strongly that the U.S. remarks are extremely absurd, irresponsible, and an open political provocation. A heat wave blanketed South Korea this week, especially here in Seoul, where temperatures spiked to the highest figures for June in 26 years. And it wasn't just Seoul, the entire world was under the unusual heat. For more, we have our Choi Soo-hyung here in the studio. Welcome, Soo-hyung.
Thank you for having me here, Dami.
Soo-hyung, I can't stress enough this. It was so hot this week that it felt like real summer.
Yes, Dami, there were a lot of very hot days. I was sweating even after standing just a few moments under the sun. The daytime high in Seoul reached over 35 degrees Celsius from last Friday over the weekend to Monday, 4 days in a row. The capital experienced its highest temperature in the middle of June since 1997. The government issued a heat wave warning level of caution on Wednesday 21st for Seoul and other cities. Not only the capital, but also South Korea's major western cities, including Daejeon and Gwangju, were hit by the heat wave, bringing much higher temperatures than usual. Let's take a listen what a citizen had to say.
I'm worried because I think this is the start of the summer and they say the temperatures will reach as high as 40 degrees Celsius due to abnormal weather. That's why I'm concerned.
I can totally relate to her. It was so hot. Now, it wasn't just us under the scorching hot weather. I heard this phenomenon is happening all over the world.
Yes, Dami, many countries have been suffering from this early heat of mid-June. There were huge wildfires in eastern Canada and the smoke covered even New York City's sky. In northern India, 68 deaths were reported from last Thursday to Sunday due to temperatures as high as 46 degrees Celsius on consecutive days. Also, the number of crickets has skyrocketed in the western U.S. and Mexico, with over 400 heat-related incidents of swarming by the insects from March this year to last week.
That is devastating to hear. Now, why was it so hot then? I mean, why did the summer-like heat come so early this year?
Officials said that extreme heat here was being caused by the airflow from a migratory anticyclone from the northeast of South Korea. Take a listen to what the experts say in detail.
Today, the migratory anticyclone is shifting away from northeast South Korea, bringing clear skies and hotter temperatures due to a southward airflow. As air flows in from the south, temperatures will rise even further, leading to hotter weather conditions.
Climate experts basically say it's because of El Niño. This has a stronger influence on creating atmospheric patterns and brings massive heat waves and droughts. Here is an analysis from a climate scientist.
Most of the warmest years on record that we've seen in the past have happened due to the influence of El Niño, because it gives that little bit extra push onto the global temperatures on top of the warming that we're already causing due to human-caused climate change.
Right, the El Niño giving a huge impact on our summer now. Now then, the question is, will this how will this summer look like? I mean, what can we expect?
Officials anticipate that next year's summer will be hotter than this year. With El Niño starting this year after 3 years of La Niña, it could lead to even more temperature records. That comes on top of the general rise in global temperatures. Data released in May by the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service shows average ocean temperatures hit 20.93 degrees Celsius. That's almost 0.3 degrees higher than last year. Experts say a dry weather causing bushfires and heavy rainstorms will be continued until September.
We're now entering the official summertime with July just around the corner, right?
Right.
But the thing is, the monsoon season is about to kick off here in Seoul. I mean, the nationwide.
Yes, Dami. The Korea Meteorological Administration said that the monsoon season in South Korea will start from this Sunday, 25th. Usually, the rainy season in Korea starts from Jeju Island and moves up to Seoul. However, this time it will start simultaneously across the entire country on the same day. Some experts expected the rainy season to start a week earlier, and it is forecast to last until the end of July this year.
Right, I should definitely have my umbrella ready and my rain boots on next month.
That's a wonderful idea.
All right, Soo-young, thank you for your wrap-up today.
My pleasure.
Now, hot summer means sweat and humidity, but it also means summer electricity bills. South Korea's state-run Korea Electric Power Corporation has frozen the electricity bills in the third quarter after 2 hikes this year to lift the burden, but still, high electricity bills are almost inevitable in the summertime. Our Lee Soo-jin has this report.
This summer is expected to be the hottest yet. With spiking temperatures and rate hikes, electricity bills are expected to reach record highs. There are, however, efforts being made by communities, individual households, and the private sector to cut down on energy usage and save money. Let's go find out how this apartment complex is doing exactly that. We met with Kim Dong-chul, who's the head manager of this apartment complex that was selected as a smart energy project by the provincial office. He told us that the 22 elevators in the complex use regenerative drives.
이 회생 제동 장치라고 있고 기계실에 올라올 때는 전기에서 올라오는데 내려갈 때 그냥 내려가는 거를 내려가면서도 전기를 발전시켜 갖고 하는 거 이런 장치예요. 공동전기로 차감이 되죠.
These regenerative drives have saved the apartment complex more than $13,000 as of last month since their installation in 2019. The solar panels installed on the complex's roofs have also helped save an additional $5,000.
10개 동 중에서 여기 나머지 10개 동 중에서 남향으로 돼 있는 박공지붕에 5개 동에 설치가 돼 있는 거죠.
We are able to save 2 to 3 times more energy compared to other apartment complexes.
But this apartment complex isn't just saving energy costs on a community level.
Residents can download an app on their phones and check in real time how much electricity they are using.
A resident of the complex said he's optimistic about his chances of successfully managing his electricity bills.
I can see how I used around 150 kilowatt hours today, and so I just have to make sure I don't exceed the 300 kilowatt hour threshold.
Another way that individual households can lower their electricity bills this summer is through the energy cashback plan that you can get by registering at KEPCO's cashback website. Online registrations for the cashback exceeded the 200,000 mark just 11 days after its launch. The government's new energy cashback, starting in July, is being offered on top of the existing basic cashback plan. If you use around 427 kilowatt hour this summer, last year's average monthly energy usage in a 4-person household during summer, your electricity bill will come to around $62 compared to last year's $50 due to the rate hikes. But if you save just 10%, you're eligible to receive cash back totaling $3. With the $9 you've already saved just from using 10% less than last year, you'll actually end up saving nearly $12 in total this summer. If you save 30%, you'll be saving nearly $40. Energy vouchers have also been expanded this year for those who are classified as economically vulnerable. People can apply for the vouchers at any of the administrative welfare centers across the nation. We visited one of the centers ourselves to find out more.
Last year, the program was limited to recipients of medical and livelihood benefits, but this year it has been expanded to include recipients of housing and education benefits. The day we first began accepting applications, there was a huge influx.
Increasing interest in how to cut energy costs has also reached the private sector, namely department stores. The head of a solar panel installation team for Lotte department store told us that the store has plans to install solar panels at 4 more of its branches by the end of the year.
The Noan branch alone produces energy amounting to around 60 4-person households.
That's around 240,000 kilowatt-hour per year. While all the efforts being made already at various levels shows that concerns about energy costs are at an all-time high, it also raises hopes that people will be able to successfully manage their electricity bills during the upcoming peak summer months. 이수진, 아리랑뉴스.
That is all we have for this weekend's edition of Weekly News Highlights. We thank you for staying with us.